Hello everybody, this is Pastor Green. We're doing another Bible study, Daniel chapter 3. If you'd like me to come speak at your church, or if you have any questions, email me at godsohman@gmail.com. Daniel 3 and verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was threescore cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits, and he set them up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Now it says it was threescore cubits. Threescore means 3 divisions of 20. So 3 times 20 is going to be 60. So it's 60 cubits high. A cubit is about 1.5 feet. It's right around 18 inches or so. So that's going to be a 90 foot high statue. And the breadth was 6 cubits, so it would be about 9 feet long. So it's 90 feet high and 9 feet long. He said this great big huge image of gold. And I kind of wonder if the image of gold is because in the last chapter, he dreamed an image. And the head of the image was Babylon, and it was made of gold. So I kind of wonder if this idea went to his head. He says, "Oh, I'm the image of gold. I need to make me a giant image of gold." And I would assume if you did that, the image probably looked just like he did. So it probably is an image of Nebuchadnezzar. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent together the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counsellors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. So Nebuchadnezzar told everybody's coming, this is a big deal, you got to be there. And remember, he made Daniel and the 3 boys, higher ups in his government. So obviously they had to be there as well. Daniel's not mentioned, so I'm assuming that's because Daniel was on an errand. I mean, he was like the vice president of Babylon at the time, so I guess he was like the vice king or whatever you want to call it. So he's in this one, but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are. And the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counsellors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together to the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So all these people were there to see this giant image. And Nebuchadnezzar was the kind of guy that if you said do this, you're going to follow directions, because he didn't let anybody get away with anything. And then a herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages." So this is the command from the Nebuchadnezzar the king, that when the time you hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image of Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. So when you hear this music, you have to bow down, you have to worship this image. And whoso falleth not down and worship shall not the same hour be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. So the capital punishment at this time was being thrown into a furnace to die. He's saying that if you do not worship the image of Nebuchadnezzar, you're going to basically be killed. You're going to be put in the fiery furnace. And here it's going to be coming a time soon where the capital punishment is going to be beheading. Now I don't know if that's going to be a guillotine, if that's going to be an executioner, or they're going to do it like the Muslims do when they use a sword. But eventually, capital punishment is going to be beheading. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. So they just said, if you don't worship this thing, we're going to destroy you in the fiery furnace. So everybody said, "Oh man, I got to follow the rules." Wherefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. And they spoke, and they said, "King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree, that every man shall hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kind of music, shall bow down and worship the golden image." These people are saying, "King, you made a rule, you made a law, you made a decree, and these people aren't listening. Oh Lord, they're going against you." And I got a feeling these Chaldeans are the same people in the last chapter that wasn't able to read the dream of the king, so they're trying to get their revenge. And whoso falleth not down and worshipped, he shall be cast in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. They're saying, King, you made a law, you made a decree that if you don't worship the statue, you get put in the fiery furnace. And these Jews over here, they're not listening to your directions. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have no regard for thee. They have served not thy gods, nor worshipped their golden image, which thou hast set up. So they're saying, these three guys over here, you, king, made them, rulers in your kingdom, and they're not even regarding you. They don't even want to bow down to you. And here's my question. There were thousands of Jews there. If you remember, the Babylonians came over to Jerusalem, and they took all these Jews back to Babylon. And they said, we're going to make you worship us, and you're going to have us learn our language, and you're going to be our people. Thousands of Jews got sent over there. So why did only 3 stand up and refuse to bow? And there's going to be a time very soon, it's called the Great Falling Away, where all these Christians are going to fall away from the faith. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be asked, do you follow Christ? And they're going to say, oh, no, because they don't want to be killed or put in prison. The question is, and you can comment below, are you going to be one of the people that stand and stay faithful to Christ? I hope I am. I can't see the future. There's a story in the Gospels where Jesus said, I'm going to be killed. And Peter said, oh, absolutely not. And Jesus told him, you're gonna deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. And sure enough, he denied him 3 times. Peter, who was one of the strongest disciples, he refused to accept Christ 3 different times. And after the 3rd time, he realized what he did wrong. The question is, are you going to bow down? Are you going to sit there and say, I denounce Christ? Because the Bible says there's going to be a great falling away, that all these Christians are going to fall away from the faith. That's a question for you guys. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they brought these men before the king. So Nebuchadnezzar's like, these guys are disobeying me, and he got mad. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? He's saying, guys, I made you guys high people of my government. Don't tell me you're going against me. It cannot be true. Are you saying that you're not going to bow down to my image after everything I've done for you? Now, if ye be ready, that when it is time you hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and you worship the image that I have made. Well, if you do not worship, you shall be cast in the same hour to the midst of the fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of thy hand? He's saying, you guys, you're not going to go against me. So when you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and do this again. We're going to give you a second chance. See, and you're going to fall down and you're going to worship this image. And if you're not going to do it, I'm going to put you in the fiery furnace. And he's saying, your God's not going to save you. He says, who is that God that shall deliver you out of thy hands? He thought that he was God. He's like, nobody's going to go against me. I'm Nebuchadnezzar. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. They're saying, look, Nebuchadnezzar, we're going to tell you like it is. We're not going to bow down. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. We're not going to do it. We're not going to be careful to tell you this. And if it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us out of the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. They're saying, our God's capable of doing this, and he's going to deliver us out of thy hand. You're going to see later they're going to say something else, but he's basically saying either one or two things is going to happen. Either God's going to save us, which is going to prove you wrong, or we're going to die in the fiery furnace, and we still don't have to deal with your reign. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship thy golden image which thou hast set up. They're saying, if God does save us from the fiery furnace, we're still not going to worship you. We're still not going to worship your gods. Period. It's not going to happen. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spoke and commanded that they should heat the fiery furnace 7 times more than it won't be heated. So he is so mad that these guys just disobeyed him and just humiliated him. He's just full of fury and wrath. He's like, make that thing 7 times hotter. Because I think he remembers the last chapter that Daniel's God was able to tell his dream. Daniel said, you are just a man, but my God is who I serve. So he's thinking maybe their God is pretty powerful. I know if I make the furnace 7 times hotter, there's no way their God can come through for him. And then he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. So he took his best men, his strongest men. And these men were bound in their coats, and their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the fiery furnace. So they bound them with all their clothes on them. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flames of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. This fire was so hot that the king's mightiest men in his army died just from opening the door. That's how hot it was. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Now take note, they were bound. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spoke and said to his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound in the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. And he answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of their 4th is like the Son of God. So now, they're not even bound anymore. They're just walking around, hanging out, and it's not just 3 guys, there's 4, and the 4th looks like the Son of God. So you can imagine the king's like, what's going on? I put 3 guys in there, there's 4 in there, and they're not even handcuffed anymore. They don't even have ropes around them. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spoke and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth in the midst of the fire. See, before he said, your God's not going to save you because I'm Nebuchadnezzar. And now he's saying, you are the servants of the Most High God. You see how he changed his tune real fast? And the princes, the governors, the captains, the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor were their hair of their heads singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of their fire had passed on them. So not only did Nebuchadnezzar get to see the power of God, but all of his higher-ups, all of the people around him who came to see the image, found out that these guys had a God bigger than Nebuchadnezzar. Then Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him. And they have changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any gods except their own God. He's saying, this God is so powerful, he went against me, and he won. That's a pretty powerful God. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which spake anything amiss against their God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they shall be cut into pieces, and their houses shall be made of dunghill, because there is no other God that could deliver after this sort. So the king's saying, I'm making a decree, I'm making a law. If anybody says anything bad about the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I'm going to destroy you. He changed his tune pretty quick, didn't he? Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Well, guys, that's the video. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, you can email me. You can also comment below. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe. I'm going to put on the bottom of the bottom right here, I'm going to put the Daniel Bible study. Top left, I'm going to put the Exodus Bible study. And the bottom left, YouTube's going to pick a random video for you to watch. If you know somebody that might like this, make sure you share it with them. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.